Welcome to the CANA Connection Podcast. On today's podcast, our host, Rob Cranston, President and COO of CANA, is going to be talking with two of our other CANAers, Mr. Connor McLemore and Michael Albrecht. They are Top Gun graduates. And without me muddying it up anymore, Rob, over to you.
Hey, guy, and I tell you what, Koa, thanks, buddy. And as always, thank you for getting us in place and getting our production and organization for the CANA Connection. Pretty exciting. We're back on, as you mentioned, Koa. We've got some former naval aviators, retired naval aviators that are now CANers. And topic today is going to be Top Gun Maverick, the movie. And I got to tell you, this movie's just punched through. I think it's getting close to $1 billion.
Yeah,
at the box office.
Yeah.
They're
actually back maybe this later on this summer here.
Right.
People are hearing about it even more and wanting to go see it. So yeah.
Well, it's pretty exciting to have you guys on. And what we want to do is just walk through and explore some of the movie itself and the experiences you guys had as naval aviators, especially, being graduates at the Navy's Fighter Weapons School, Top Gun, which is out in Fallon, Nevada. And back in 1986, as we all knew, and incited a whole generation like you guys of pilots, was actually at Naval Air Station, now Marine Corps Air Station, Miramar. I will say this, and again, we can pick apart this movie left and right from the world of mission sets and really operational set planning and whatnot. But I will say that so in '86, right, the movie, you got a bunch of greased up pilots that are playing volleyball by a beach, and then you've got Maverick that has kind of the same, but they're playing football. And that's in Nevada and not near a beach. Unless there's a beach out there.
No, Rob, I think that one was still San Diego. They were playing on a beach in that one. So, yeah, but
were they? The school themselves, though, right? Are
yes.
So that's one of the. So I mean, a lot of the movie took place at North Island, and they had all the Fighter USA stuff and all that. Again, I can't fault them for making that decision. I think it's in the spirit of naval aviation to have it about beaches and football and the I-bar and all that good stuff. And yeah, I hope they make another Top Gun movie here and in the next 45 years or however long we had to wait for this second one. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Mike, the Air Boss is actually there down in San Diego area, so they kind of did get that right with regards to that. But being up in Fallon and being away from the Air Boss is actually a good thing. So
yeah, that's right.
The rest of the schoolhouse,
Mike, you know what I kept thinking of when I was watching the movie? Yeah. It's like it was like when I saw the movie 300 about the Greeks fighting the Persians. Like none of the technical details mattered. None of it. Like it was all about like the spirit of naval aviation to me, and I think they absolutely nailed that. And I mean, all the nostalgia was great, and all the little details and everything, and certainly the aerial photography and the flight scenes were incredible. So I would love for them to come out with the Top Gun 3, but that's probably a pretty heavy lift here.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Connor, give it, and Mike, and we'll start with you, Connor. Tell us about your aircraft that you were trained in, naval aircraft, and how that aircraft was actually used in the movie.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. So my background, I'm a E2C Hawkeye naval flight officer. Graduated from the Naval Academy in 2010. Went through flight school in Pensacola and Norfolk, and then got to my first squadron in 2002, around October of 2002. My first cruise was on USS Constellation with CAG-2. and that was the kickoff to Operation Iraqi Freedom. So the Hawkeye, it's the command and control aircraft of the Air Wing. Typically, there's 4 of them on the aircraft carrier right now. It's got a lot of sensors and communication systems and that sort of thing. It's a big twin-engine turboprop, 80-foot wingspan, 24-foot rotating dome. And so, that was my first cruise, the OIF Gulf cruise on Connie. And then after that, we got back to West Coast Hawkeyes are out of Point Mugu, California, which is a nice place to be. So got back to Mugu, found out I was going to the command and control course in Top Gun, which was pretty exciting. And I mean, we can get into the details of the school. I'll let Mike tell his stuff. But no, Top Gun. I mean, the course is incredible. It was just an amazing thing to be a part of. So I'll pause there.
And for clarity, you didn't graduate in 2010. I think you felt like you graduated in 2010.
Did I say 2010?
If you can fix that, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael.
Yes. All right. So actually, Connor and I's stories are pretty doggone close, mainly because we were roommates at the academy. And so both graduated in 2000 and went on to flight school. Actually, I think Connor started up flight school just a bit earlier than I did. And then I went on. I think that original movie probably influenced me a little bit. So as I was going through flight school, I was pulling for F-14s, Tomcats. Missed it by just a little bit, but did end up going F-18 Hornets and hit the first squadron, VFA 37. Did a deployment over to Iraq on the Truman. Came back and ended up at the end of that tour heading off to Fallon, Nevada, not only to start the Top Gun class at the beginning of my tour there, but stay on with at the time it was called NSOC, Naval Strike and Air Warfare Center, but stay on with NSOC staff. So, I think I ended up, I graduated about 2 years behind you in Top Gun, Connor, if that's about right?
I was 04. Yeah, 2004 is when I graduated.
Yeah, okay. So, 2007 actually for me. So, about 2.5 years. It just takes a little bit longer to learn those stick and monkey skills. So,
So tell me, guy, right? So what's the selection criteria to get to a Top Gun school? Mike, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it is actually pretty strict with regards to there's only so many slots open, and you have to get recommendation from the training officer that's in your squadron. That's there's always one training officer there that is a Top Gun graduate, a very recent one. And so definitely recommendation from there. Typically need a recommendation from another training officer in another squadron. So just to show your influence, that's not just all within your ready room. And then typically you need some endorsement from some of the older crowd, the old guard that have been around for a long time. So some of your COs, et cetera, that were also Top Gun grads. Now I had a really awesome opportunity, basically, where the CO of VFA 37 had just left about 5-6 months before I was applying, and he went on to be the Top Gun commanding officer at the time, or department head, since Top Gun is actually a department within Nautic, so the N7 department. And so he was there. He was the commanding officer, department head there, and so that was a great in. And I almost felt like I was pushed to go there, mainly because a lot of the guys see Top Gun and see the graduates from there and realize if you're on staff at Top Gun, you don't have a life outside there, it seems like, because you are spending 18-20 hours a day almost as you're studying. And because the passion is just so strong with those guys that stay on staff as instructors, that they're given every ounce that they can of their energy. And so that turns off some people. And I think that happens a lot among the early junior officers. And I was kind of hesitant because of that. But at the same time, we're always striving for our best. So that definitely intrigued me, and so it was a choice, and I had to make that decision because I wasn't going to make that decision and not give everything I could. And so that's definitely, should never take decisions like this, with those kinds of schools ever lightly. But yeah, so it came with a burden, I feel like.
Interesting. And Connor, anything to add to that, buddy?
Yeah, I don't. As far as the process to select people to Top Gun, I don't have anything to add there. I do remember vaguely getting told that I was going to go to the school, and I was really excited, and the school did not fail to vastly exceed my expectations. I mean, it's one of those things. It's difficult to describe in words. I mean, I think that's another thing that the movie gets right is the passion for employing your aircraft to the maximum of its capabilities and learning everything you can about it, and just improving and getting better, and learning how to teach this stuff is really what the school is all about. So it's not just a matter of you're the best and you go through the school and then you go off and fly some mission somewhere. It's you actually have to go through sort of the grunt work of going back to the squadron and getting the squadron up to speed on the latest, greatest tactics. I mean, that's why the Navy puts so many resources into Top Gun as a school. I mean, it's not just a matter of sending people to Top Gun. It's also the fact that squadrons have to pony up aircraft to fly training missions during Top Gun, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just a really extraordinary experience, and it's a long school. I don't know what it is these days, but when I went through, it was like I want to say 6 weeks or something. I mean, it's a really long course, and it's intense. I mean, you're doing you know 2 events a day, and then between an event might last an hour, but the briefing and debriefing and all of those things. It's just a like Mike sort of said. It's all consuming. I mean, I was not married at the time, and thank God for that, because you have to throw everything into it to be successful. I think that kind of
those are great points, guys. Great points. Cole, what was that? You had your hand up.
Yeah, I was. It's something from the movies, but obviously they're building up a camaraderie and they're doing things, and then, like you said, you're taking your skills and going to pass them along to the people that you're going to be with all the time. But while you're there within those 6 weeks, is there a competition aspect to it? Or is it just like everybody's just trying to do their best, but there is no real leaderboard that you're trying to like, hey, I got you today. I was a little bit better than you, and everybody ranking up a little bit like that. I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, it's natural competition. I mean, there's no leaderboard, but everybody's definitely competing. I mean, certainly. I mean, so Top Gun is like the original Top Gun is like the classic competition film, right? It's and it gets the spirit of the thing right. So everybody's and it's not even necessarily about competing against. In my opinion, it's not necessarily about competing against the other people there, but it's competing against yourself as well, and trying to get better, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but to be the best going through that sort of school is, I think, what everyone was striving for, certainly in my class.
No,
Mike,
that's cool. And actually, and I like how Connor keeps pushing this, that it is the spirit of it. The reality of being the best at Top Gun doesn't always happen out over the radio or in the range, because again, Connor pointed out that this is about training the trainer. And so the best there is, can you take it back and hit those long debriefs and pull out excellent training points, that focus on those aspects that you saw in the event that can make you better. and make the rest of the team better. And those are really that's where you're becoming the best at Top Gun, because you are trying to be a teacher, and it's almost the secret to Top Gun. You assume though that everyone that attends is good at either whatever role, as command and control, as a pilot in the front, a Wizzo in the back seat, working together as a team. You have to prove yourself to get there, and then there is always that competition to be exact in your teaching. And it's one of the funny things is when your instructor is sitting there in the brief or debrief room, and they have their clipboard, and when you see them starting to write, you're like, crap, what they bring out? And we'll do stuff like, what words do you repeat the most? And then if your technique and how you're communicating needs correction, that's actually more where we compete with each other, if you will. So yeah.
The spirit of competition.
Always lead with something nice. Always lead with something nice. And
nice. That's actually in today's present, like that really needs to be emphasized.
Yeah.
So this is kind of cool, because when you talk about competition in the movie itself, you see this carryover from 86 version Top Gun to Maverick today. And you have that certain amount of arrogance, that Hollywoodized arrogance, right? But really what it seems, and as you guys project, that competitive spirit gets into competency and being part of the spirit of team. Did you see did some of that emerge? Did you see some of that flowing in Maverick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that the values that naval aviation holds dear, and certainly Top Gun holds dear, are professionalism and competence and open and honest communication. And I think again, I think they got those things right in the movie. Does it veer into cockiness sometimes? Sure. I think I think everybody going through this sort of program is a human being. But I loved in the movie, they touched on these things, right? So I vaguely recall one of the lines in the movie was something like, Tom Cruise was debating whether these guys were going to be ready for the mission, and he said, these guys have been told they're the best their whole lives, and this is going to be totally different and all that. So I do think again that the movie got the spirit of that right. But certainly, we are all fallible individuals, and we make mistakes and that sort of thing. And certainly, there's cockiness is not a value that the actual Top Gun school holds dear. I mean, if you can back it up, but it's a lot of work to back that up, right? I mean, that's what the movie doesn't show is the grinding hours put in training and preparing for the individual missions and that sort of thing. So
that is a great point to make for our crowd out there, the CANA Connection crowd that are younger, and I say younger, and that are professionals looking to, and some could be looking at crossing over or joining the Navy or the DoD in some context. But the hard work, right? That ethos of is just absolutely spot on. Mike, what some of the other thoughts?
Yeah, definitely the work hard, play hard. That is something whatever you're doing with all your heart. And I really appreciated the personalities that they brought out and all the actors and the characters they portrayed. And truthfully, I know people that fit almost all of those different personalities that they portrayed. But what was really key was at the end, and they did it at the end of the 86 movie. They did it at the end of Maverick, and that is the embracing after the event, and that's where the respect really showed for each other.
That's interesting. Yeah.
In reality, a lot of the razzing that we give each other is out of respect, because if we don't respect you, we're not going to waste our time, because every time, every moment matters. And so even when we're joking around and making fun of each other, we're trying to tell each other to keep it cool. Don't let your head get too big, because I know you and I know your failures, but I know your successes too. And so it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, and that respect really comes out, which I love that they did that at the end of the movie. That was really key. And then, of course, Iceman and Maverick scene where, hey, this is a nice moment, don't ruin it. That was really at the very essence of that.
They did that well. They did that so well.
They did really well with that. And it showed respect for each other. And so, and bonds that last. And I think that's a huge thing when you're going through as much of a crucible as Top Gun is, or any of these missions. Every time you go out, you are risking your life in any of these aircraft. It's not a completely managed risk, and every time that is something that you do bond over. And especially the problems that associate with some of the emergencies that they've shown in both movies. And I got to point out too that in the movie Maverick, that emergency was about a 95% example of something that happened back in 2017. That happened out on the range. It was really close to exactly the emergency that we had, and we lost the aircraft and the pilot ejected, and he was fine in the end. But yeah, that really went into a lot of the risk and a lot of the that is associated with the job. And you need that sometimes, that take it back full circle to that gentle ribbing, that razzing that happens to, I think they call it gallows humor, right? And to kind of bring it back to life again, instead of focusing on the risk that you associate all the time.
No, I think Mike, if I could just add to that, the thing I'd say too is, everybody goes a little nuts after about, 4 months on the boat. So, when you've been operating off the aircraft carrier basically every day, you don't get weekends off on the carrier, right? You might get a day off here and there, but generally that's filled with training. It's literally just go, and you're under intense pressure to perform on every single mission. Again, I don't know about you, Mike, but back when I was flying, there weren't a lot of freebie missions where you're just out there tooling around. Every mission is a training mission, because you're operating a valuable aircraft, and you're burning expensive gas to get the training. So it's not just, don't get me wrong, you get to grab a few moments here and there where you're having fun and that sort of thing. But being on all the time, being in a squadron is probably the hardest thing I ever did, and the most pressure I've ever felt to perform, not just for me, but to perform for the air wing, to be good within this larger team of, again, not just Hawkeyes and not just fighters, but all the different kinds of jets, and even the working with the various ships and the strike group, that sort of thing. It's intense. It's intense. Not just flying off the boat. Executing.
It's interesting because in the movie, in Maverick, I think in CANA, that representation of what becomes from training now to real world mission training, when Pete Mitchell, when Maverick throws his book into the Bible, right, of training manual into the trash, says, okay, now let's start.
NATOPS,
right?
Yeah.
The NATOPS, right? Yeah. Would you guys agree? Something in that I know then they get into a very interesting set of training and mission sets that
the training in Fallon is extraordinary, be it Top Gun or be it Air Wing Fallon. The only difference between having maybe the scale of something like OIF is a little different from a command and control perspective, but as far as individual missions, the only difference is that dummy bombs come off the wings instead of real bombs. That's otherwise it's pretty darn close to the real thing, I think.
Yeah,
Mike.
Yeah, and I think that the example of tossing the NATOPS and goes, okay, this we're done with that, is really speaking to, you better know that because that's your foundation. And
Right.
we also have another manual that they didn't bring out because it's classified, but that's the Top Gun manual. And so NATOPS talks about all the systems, how everything interrelates, how to maximize your performance of your aircraft. And then the Top Gun manual takes all of that and the systems and matches that up with the missions that you're trying to perform. And it gives you the techniques and procedures to then also take those same systems and employ it to the most lethal ability. So both of those manuals
Oh, sorry,
are
Mike, didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and they're living documents. NATOPS is written in blood, so if you're throwing it in the trash, that's a strong statement. And then the Top Gun manual is just it's constantly changing based on the changing environment that we're operating in.
Yeah. So I think this is good stuff. I love it. And so you guys brought through what I think is important for everybody to understand, that work ethic, but really the day in the life of which seems to mirror, right? The day in the life being the two missions or the two different events each day that those students are going through. And so with that, the day in the life, and then translating that to then what becomes mission set. Did you guys have a reality? And I know there's some pieces of this you guys can't get into, and that is the classification. But was it that you were training for certain scenarios constantly in those daily missions? In other words, did each session change in terms of its mission set? Was it an air-to-air, air-to-surface type of mission?
Yeah, so
there were.
Yeah.
I just say, so the Navy goes through workup cycles with its carrier strike group. So you start out, I mean, it's the very basic stuff, right? 1v1 sort of thing. And so there's this, prior to a aircraft carrier deploying, you'll go through this extensive workup cycle, which involves all the squadrons in the carrier air wing going out to Fallon. It involves the Hawkeyes working with the fighters. So there's events called HARP SFARP for air-to-air focused training, that sort of thing. And then eventually, I mean, even when you get to the boat, you're still doing workups initially. So you got to get through. The pilots have to get through all their carrier quals. I mean, just to land on the boat, right? That's I'm a backseater, but it seems like a hard thing to me, and I always appreciated it when my pilots did it well. And then once you get out underway and you're actually on cruise, it's kind of like, it's almost like a weight has been lifted, right? Because you've really done all the hard parts. Everybody knows what they're doing. Sort of the whole strike group is typically humming by that point. And then if something comes up, then you're ready for it. They've also, cruises have been extended lately, and there's also this. It used to be that you would finish up a cruise and then there'd be some time off, and then you'd start the whole workup cycle again. That is no longer the case. So they realized that sending a finely tuned carrier strike group home to relax is maybe not the best use of taxpayers' money. I know there's a lot of raging back and forth about whether that hurts retention and these sorts of things. I'm not going to get into it at all. It's just you sort of just keep going. So instead of coming off cruise now and just relaxing now, you stay in a ready status. Essentially, you still have to go out and do carrier qualifications and that sort of thing for a while.
Good insights, Mike. I know you had some thoughts on that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what Connor was bringing up was the phases of training, and even in just the 6 to 8 weeks of Top Gun, there are phases as well. You start out with some academics, and you're sitting there death by PowerPoint, it seems like, but it's really awesome information there that you need to soak in. And then you go into a 1v1 phase, and then you start working into sections, just you and a wingman. And then there's an air-to-air phase and an air-to-surface phase. So that was actually kind of cool to see that in the recent movie, is that, yes, you do focus a little bit on, the low-level route that they do, and then the bombing, and the air-to-air portion, and then how do you put it all together. And there are a couple of events in the Top Gun course for the tactical side of it, where there's three main events that I can think of. One, it's basically the grad event at the end, and that's where everybody goes out, and all the Top Gun students are all the good guys for that mission. There's no instructors that are in the good guy side. All the instructors are on the bad guy side, and it's one typically big fight to get into the target and get back out. And by then, you're working as a very cohesive unit. Back it up a little bit further, and there's two other events. One's the Grad 1v1, an incredible event. It's all day of just go up, hit some cap point out in the middle of the working area, and you're going to meet another aircraft. You don't know what other aircraft that is, and fights on as soon as you hit the merge there. In other words, right as you pass each other, now you got to fight. And these are guys from Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, multiple services coming in and bringing F-22s, F-35s, F-15s, every other platform that we fly in the tactical side. And you don't know what you're going to see there, and you fight your best fight. And it's a great event, though. We call it Grad 1v1 because it is kind of a graduation event, even though it's fairly well in the middle of the course, where it's a graduation for you, and an example of how far you've come since you've been there. And then there's another event right around that same time where we go down to one of the telemetry ranges where every movement you make is on camera and on sensor, and they have multiple surface-to-air missiles. So it's almost like that. The portion in the movie where you have all these missiles coming at you, and they light you up with everything, and you got to maneuver. And it being a telemetry range, they can see how effective your movement is, and you do a debrief on that, and it shows all the notional missiles coming at you, and it's pretty eye opening to see that you can get in there, you can drop those bombs, you can fly out of there safely, and not only do you have all the surface-to-air missiles coming at you, and you have to drop your bombs together with your wingmen, but as you exit the problem there, sure enough, there's a couple of bandits that you got to pop up and split up and handle those effectively as a team and get home safely. So it was really cool that they brought a lot of that out in the movie.
Yeah. I just want to know this. So the aggressor aircraft and splitting those 18s, is that real?
All of that was actually pretty close together. Now, a lot of my time, I did two different tours in Fallon, both on the first time was INSOC staff on the strike N5 department. And that's the department that, as Connor mentioned, trains the air wings in Fallon. So you get the entire air wing there. And so you have massive engagements going on. And that was an incredible time there. Separately, my last tour in the Navy was as the operations officer, the N3 for NAUTIC, Naval Aviation Warfighting Development Center. And so I worked very closely with all of these departments because I was the one responsible for the flight schedule to allocate all the aircraft. And I was also the F-16 program manager, which the Navy at that time had 14 F-16s there stationed in Fallon, all connected to NAUTIC. And we use those as adversaries. There's also multiple aggressor squadrons that fly F-5s in the same role. So it's good to see something other than an F-18, and to make sure that you know how to fight. The F-16 has incredible thrust to weight and speed advantage, but the F-18 has that the ability to turn on a dime. So the high angle of attack and a lot of sensors available to it. So it's good to have a different type of aircraft to fight against because there's different game plans that you'll do. So I spent a lot of time fighting as an adversary. With F-16, we also got to go pretty doggone fast in the working areas. We could take that thing all the way up to about 1.9, 2.0 tops on Mach number. And there was one flight in particular that was similar to a couple of those engagements where I was literally sitting about a half mile behind a pair of F-18s, and they had no clue I was there. So it was basically shoot one, do an aileron roll, move over, and the only purpose of the aileron roll was to hopefully have one of them look at me and see me. And so, yeah, sometimes the bandits will come up and surprise you pretty doggone quick.
If I'm in an 18 and I don't know that somebody's a mile and a half behind, bad guy, somebody's behind me. In the debrief, what's how do you explain that?
Oh, it's hard, definitely. But that's one of the things we do is we do look out.
Yeah.
So it's part of it. And also, here's a key: if you're really close to each other, your 6 o'clock, your blind spot right behind your head box, right there is almost the same. But
and that's you, by the way, right? That is you. Like that's a picture, right? Is that you behind you? Is that you behind you?
I think. I think you had a really clear picture for that one, but sure, for our purposes, that's me. Yeah. So, but we actually spread out a lot further than what they show in the movie. In the movie, it's really important to be that close to give the feeling of how close you actually are, given the speed and the ability to close pretty quickly. And being a mile away from each other seems like a long distance, and it's hard to pull apart in, to show how close you really are on camera. So they had to put those really close together. But in reality, we are typically flying around a mile away from each other. And that way, when I look back, I can see my wingman's 6 o'clock. So you should never have somebody ever show up behind you unnoticed unless you really don't like your wingman and you don't want to look at him. And that happens. All right.
That gets more closer to the movie theme type of.
Sometimes. Exactly.
Connor, my man, was there any experiences like that? Is something that you want to share? Little sea story.
Oh, hey, you're gonna start with the fighter guy doing an aileron roll into AIC, and then you're gonna ask. No, I was in the back of my little tube with the windows closed and my sensors on, nice and safe, hundreds of miles away.
Hundreds.
Any threat?
Bad weather? I mean,
no. I mean, so I think the thing I liked about the certainly the Hawkeye community was a good fit for me. I really enjoyed what I did. So the Hawkeyes, the standard thing to call the Hawkeye is a quarterback of the air wing, and so it's calling the plays, right? And so being in a mission is incredibly mentally taxing. So Mike talked about these section and these division hops where you have two or more or many aircraft out there, and you're running everybody through the intercept, and you're sort of directing, orchestrating the whole show. That's what I liked the most, was doing that, because it's so, it's difficult to describe. It's mentally taxing. You just have to be on your game, and you have to make calls at exactly the right time. It was a lot of fun. So.
That's a cool analogy, though. I'm sorry, Carl, real quick. That's a cool analogy, though, with that, being the quarterback of, and just in terms of mission control of those varied mission sets. So,
let me brag on that a little bit too, if I can. It's really hard to sit on your hands and not key the microphone when an F-18 or a section of F-18s are in a dogfight at a merge, and you see that there are other bandits coming after them. And yet you have to be just as precise there with your communications as with your non-communications, to know that sometimes if I said something right now, I could really cause what we call a helmet fire in somebody else's cockpit. And so the role of command and control is as much not talking at an appropriate time as it is providing the information. And I think that's great training there, and aspects to know as leaders too. And as Connor mentioned, the E2 controllers are the quarterbacks there. They are providing the appropriate information at the right time. Timely and pertinent information is important. And we harp on comms all the time in naval aviation to know we will get nitnoid down to the exact word that you're using to include, even the correct emphasis on the right syllable. And it's the guys that do it well with command and control are multipliers with information. And it's impressive to watch because there's the eyes in the sky and keeping everyone coordinated and knowing the timing of everything, especially when there's multiple engagements, and knowing who you're talking to at the right time and what's the best information that those guys need that are up forward is not an easy task. It takes 100% focus 100% of the time.
Great insight. Co, you were saying something?
No, I was just gonna pile in and ask a question or bring up, like, it's Connor, from your aspect. For me, because we deal with the EU sports and I deal with gaming in general and all kinds of stuff, that your role is kind of like you get to see the whole game board, you know what I mean? And then helping with all, the front, if in a smaller aspect of it, other than just like a tactical game board, like for the esports guys that we deal with, there's always that one guy calling out everything and at the right time, right? So it's just like you got to let your people know what's going on, even though I know that's a game and everything like that. But some of these games are getting so much more complex and fast moving and everything like that they're being, sought out as training implements, or at least things to get people interested in getting involved in the kind of aspects of stuff. Do you guys, in your training that you guys are going through, do you game it at all? I mean, do you, other than the practice missions and the other things you go on, do you just sit around and then come up with just without physical vehicles around, just like figure out like, okay, here's the scenario, and then you just kind of game it and say like, this is what I would do, this is what I would do, or this is what
yeah.
should do.
I mean, I can speak to that, Koa. So everything is pre-planned. So you're not going up and, one of the things in the movie that I don't, again, Spirit was good, but I don't know, but Tom Cruise kept telling Goose's son, don't think, right? And I was trying to put that in context, because I'm like, wait a second, I don't think I ever stopped thinking up there. Was I doing it wrong, Tom Cruise? Did I not get that right? But in my mind, what I turned it into was you're not thinking, you're just executing a plan, right? So it's kind of like, if an NFL team is running a play, I mean, is there some improvisation within the play, or do people do clever and interesting things? Sure, but generally you have to execute the play as sort of a baseline, and that's sort of how naval aviation operates. It really is like football plays is I think the closest analogy I can make.
That's the kind of feeling I took away from that too. Whenever he was saying that kind of stuff, it's like, you know how to do this. Trust your instincts. You have all the training. You've been through all the classes. You've studied all the game footage, as it were. That type of thing. You just do what you're supposed to do.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I've been, executing a mission, and I found myself thinking, right? And it is a bad place to be. You just want to be in the zone executing what you know how to do. That's what it's all about. So
that was the only I was trying to tie it into things that I could wrap my brain around.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one though, Co. When you look at what you just mentioned, I mean, that's so very true. Is when you got, again, a mission coordinator, or the captain, or the team, or the center of gravity who's calling the plays, an offensive playbook. I mean, you can audible, but is that audible the right audible? Are you audibling in the right type of play? more of asset in this case.
Yeah. And as we know, those guys have, hundreds, thousands of hours practicing as a team, doing their thing, and adjusting to every scenario, and then replaying it and coming up with better game plans. So that's what I assume you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's played, sports at a reasonably high level, I think that's the closest thing I can say it's been like for me is it is sort of that sports intelligence where it's really, really hard, and you got to know exactly what you're doing, and that's it.
I will say this: at our next company offsite that I am at with the two of you gentlemen, and everybody else in the company that wants to, it's been a goal of mine at any of the company offsites. I want to get a good strategy game going with anybody who wants to play. Mm-hmm. And as one, I just want to see how you guys think, and then see if I can beat you.
That being said, this was fantastic, Connor, Mike. Just tremendous insights. I love this, the analysis and just the ebb and flow and discussion. And let's do it again on maybe the movie 300.
Huh. Yeah, absolutely. When I go back and write the Xerxes and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. But fantastic. COO.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the CANA Connection podcast. To everybody out there, if you would like to see more, hear more of the CANA Connection, you can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all of the other fine podcasting platforms. You can head on over to our website at canallc.com. While you're there, consider joining our forums, reading our newsletter, or checking out other interesting things from CANA. That's all for now. Signing off for Rob Cranston and the rest of the CANA Connection podcast crew. I'm COO Beam saying, analyze, assess, and execute, and we'll see you next time.
Where's your Top Gun background?
I can switch to my Top Gun background if you want there. I didn't go to Top Gun. I thought it was inappropriate for me to have a Top Gun background. So that's why I went Millennium Falcon. But there we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Like we pointed out, there's an aircraft missing in there.
Right.
I can go with just no aircraft.
One over Connor's right shoulder.
I can turn off the lights in my room and it'll pretty much be a Hawkeye. So we're
just the glow of the screen.
That's right. That's great.
I'll put in the ditching hatch and I'll close the windows. And, like good old time, staring at a computer screen again. It's just like it was.
Why didn't they show that scene in Maverick?
Oh, we got a little Hawkeye love. They got a little. They showed the inside of a Hawkeye. It was a picture clean called Continue, but it was something.
Love it.